Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us. We're joined, as always, by head coach Tom Sawyer from the Warrior football team. And congratulations on the win this weekend at Augustana. From what I've read, it was a strong fourth quarter, otherwise a tight game before that. Tell us a little bit about how the game went and what was different in that fourth quarter that allowed you to put up 24 on the board.
Well, I think that's a good football team. We both had the same record going in, both fighting for an opportunity to play a bowl game, and it was their senior day, so they were a little more charged up than normal, especially the older kids. But actually, the game went pretty well. We just didn't function offensively as explosive as we'd like to in the first half. But more importantly is we took over on the defensive side. Our defensive guys played exceptionally well, and our special teams really shined in that football game. So we had a block punt. We had a kick return for a touchdown. Elliot's here today to talk about the opening. So special teams and defense kind of held it together, and then our offense did get it going in the second half. We moved the ball pretty well. We just couldn't put points up earlier and punted too often. But nonetheless, we got down where we had to run the football and play action pass and caught them deep and threw 2 touchdown passes. So at the end of the day, we had a decent day. It just didn't show up in the stats.
All right, well, a lot to get into with that, but let's start at the beginning. Kick return for a touchdown right off the bat at the beginning. Tell us about that.
Well, it's always awesome. I mean, you're on the road, and I was really excited for Elliot. Here's a fifth-year guy that's been battling injury over the last couple of years, but one of the special kids in our program, and for him to go back there and he's been a running back, he's been a receiver, he's been a punt return, kick return, and he's moved all around and just a completely dedicated kid to our program. And for him to, especially him, to catch it and got it blocked up just right, and he took it to the house, and it was fun. I don't think there was one person in the place that didn't think that was a pretty cool deal from the Warriors side. But what a great way to start the day! And instantly we were all jacked up and in the game. And from there on, it was a special teams special day.
Right. Now, for special teams, we've talked about injuries all season long, but you've had to have a bunch of different players back for kick returns, punt returns, all that sort of thing. How does that affect the way that you plan for a game to know that you got to put different people back there?
Well, the biggest thing is we're really blessed we got good athletes. So we're pretty deep in those kind of positions. So we have been through a bunch, but more importantly, it's equally as important for the guys doing the blocking because they see it every week. You know what I mean? And the guy running the football has really got the easiest job: find a hole and get in it. But the guys blocking, when that stays consistent, then you can really get it going. And that's been the last few weeks. We've kept the blocking part of it pretty much intact.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the offense first before we get into defense. And again, you had all of your running backs going, Eric Berth, Javian Roebuck, and Sam Santiago Lloyd. Tell us a little bit about how that running game worked against Augustana.
Yeah, we were stymied in the first part of the game. None of them could really get it going, and we dropped the ball once, turned it over once. So overall, even though we were using 3 running backs and they showed up in different parts of the game, Sam has been the workhorse for us all year. Javian's been dealing with a shoulder injury, so he hasn't got a lot of reps in practice, but he's got explosive piece too, and we just couldn't get him cut loose. They're a good defense, and then Eric, coming off, he didn't play a lot. He had a bad ankle, and he was rolling along, and we even threw a halfback pass with him that was incomplete, but he threw it about 50 yards in the air. So we're trying to use all those guys. We have been all year. It's just kind of the way the year went between injuries and give it to the guy with the hot hand, and we'll continue that throughout this weekend.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the passing game then. Not a lot there, 142 yards passing, and it looks like Owen was sacked 4 times in the day. Tell us about what it was like for the passing game this week.
Well, it was kind of a combination of a bunch of different things. I don't think our offensive line played particularly well up front. We just cut some kids loose. For some reason, they were out of sync. We did have tight ends where Greg is here today, and he played a bunch, but we got a redshirt freshman in there as well. We had a tight end or a wide receiver that we moved to tight end, and I tore Flood. So when you get that in the offensive line, we've talked about this. It's so much about being in sync with each other. We were just out of sync, and we were out of sync the whole day. So some of that is that. Some of it is Owen just wasn't sharp, and the other part it was raining the whole day. And I don't think it affected a lot, but we did have a couple drops early in the drives. And when you're punting the football, things aren't going great. But I think Owen, he's stuck in there. He's mature now. He can handle it. And so overall, I think we're fine. We did make some plays when we had to, and that mattered the most.
All right, let's talk a little bit defensively because, again, you were facing one of the top quarterbacks in the league in Kyle Sadler for Augustana. And he did put up his numbers, but from what I understand, that was more late in the game than it was early in the game.
Yeah, I thought our defense did a great job. I mean, we got after him too, and he's just a elusive. He's a shorter quarterback, but he's a pretty good athlete. At least around in the pocket. Once he's out of the pocket, I don't think he's anything special, but he can run the the RPO that they run pretty well, and they got a good handle on it, probably as good as anybody we've seen. So the run pass option, they do very well. But once we got to them, we completely shut their running game down, and then we ended up with 3 picks, and we also dropped 3. So we could have had 6 picks in that game, and so our defensive backs did a nice job, and they've been kind of hodgepodge with injuries, and Alonzo even had a pick 6 in the game, so that's kind of fun for him as a kid that got his first start.
Yeah, so that's Alonzo Alexander got that interception, and Isaiah Hall had 2 interceptions in the game.
Yeah, Isaiah just continues to impress. He's a sophomore, and he's dominating football games. In fact, the first half, Nickel, the number 9, he was kind of owning us in the first half, and so I remember at halftime we walked down and Coach Curtin was talking to him, and he just said, Isaiah, you play 9, I don't want him to touch the ball the rest of the day, and that's basically what he did. So Isaiah is a pretty special kid, and not only what he does on our special teams, but he plays on the best receivers, and he's physical. He's not big in stature, but he makes a lot of big plays. And when he gets his hands on the football, I mean, he's electric. So we've all seen that in the special teams game. But he had an interception the other day. He was running all over the place. I think he ran about 1.5 miles, ended up even going the wrong way for a couple yards. So reminded me of Andrew Spencer last year a little bit. So if we get them all going the same direction, I think we'll be fine.
All right, David Smith had a great game on defense, 12 tackles. Cole Moncton had 10 tackles. So a lot of players had some big days.
Yeah, and that's, it kind of tells you what's going on with the run game and the quarterback run game, that kind of stuff. David Smith played real physical. He triggered well, kind of trusted his reads and took off. And he's a fast, athletic kid, so when he knows what he's doing, he can make tackles. And and Cole, he was playing on the big kid in the first half, but at the corner position when they're running RPO, a lot of slants and those kind of things off that play action pass. He did a nice job, batted down a bunch in the second half and tackled well. So with that being said, I mean, the defense really played pretty explosive the entire day.
All right, and then you were talking about special teams too. Paul Ortiz had a couple of field goals in the game, and you're talking about the weather conditions. How much did that affect whether you decided to go field goals or not?
Well, it wasn't windy. That was nice. So we thought if we could get to the 40-yard line, we were good with him. Which pushes back into the 50-plus field goal range, but at the same time, he's got the leg for it. So as we talked prior to the game, no matter which direction we went, the wind was really calm. And it wasn't wet enough that it affected the snap. That was more important than the kick. But he handled it fine. And Tyler Anderson at the holder did a really nice job getting the ball down and scoring points.
All right, let's talk a little bit about where you are in the season. You got your last home game, last regular season game coming up. As you look at that game and you factor in all the injuries and everything, what are some of the things that you've been happy about seeing with this team, where they are and the way that they've been playing?
Well, there's a silver lining in everything. I go all the way back to that Upper Iowa game that we got beat, and that's haunting us now. We would have been a playoff team with a win this weekend, but we've learned a lot, and we've grown a lot. Our team stuck together. We have such high expectations that if you lose one, the guys start freaking out about it because we want to go undefeated, and it's hard. And college football's hard. I say it every weekend, and to win games in this league is difficult no matter what the team is. And I think what we learned is to come and play each week as if it's a championship level game. And we grew a lot because a lot of young kids had to play due to injury. So the silver lining is we have a lot of kids with a lot of great game experience, and we have a lot of kids coming back. We are losing 12 seniors. In fact, I think Nick Pridgeon will come back next year, but we're losing 12 really good kids. But nonetheless, the experience that we got this year, so I'm always a forward-thinking guy, and I really believe that what happened this year, even going 8-3 with what happened, is a remarkable year for what we had. So I'm very pleased and very proud of their performance. All
right, and then coming into this game against Concordia next week, what are some of the things that you can change and that you're going to look to change to the team going into this week?
Well, they're a good football team too. They're 500, but they've played tough against everybody, and they're just a balanced team. What we need to do is we got to be able to run the football. And late in the year, it could be cold, those kind of things. looks like it's going to be 30-something for the game, but we have to be able to manage the clock better than we have the last 2 weeks. So we'll work hard on our pass or our run game. And then passing, we just got to hit some big plays. And we always have against them. Even in the torrential downpour we played in last year was a miserable game. But we still threw the ball fine and well enough to win. So we have to take advantage of their aggressiveness. And then on defense, we just have to shut it down. They got a big old quarterback that likes to run it around, and we stop their three-point attack, and I think we're going to do just fine.
All right, well, let's take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show, and when we come back, we'll get the player perspective. We'll start with Elliot Cox when we come back right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill, and it's Senior Day today. Elliot Cox joins us.
Yep.
Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, let's start at the beginning from last week. We talked with Coach Sawyer about it. Kick return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Walk us through that play and tell us what you were thinking during the play.
I mean, I was just doing my job. You know, they kicked it to the other side of the field, so we have our little abort call we make. You know, Greg Rooney communicates that one pretty well, so we got the abort call called out. You know, and that's kind of what happens with our team when we get all 11 guys doing the same thing. You know, some special things happen, and I don't know, they blocked it up front perfectly. I was untouched, so I really just had to run straight and got into the end zone. So,
anything going through your mind maybe after you scored the touchdown or anything like that, or is it just kind of business as usual?
Yeah, you know, I was happy. I got in the end zone. You know, it's kind of to do something like that. It feels good. You know, it's a lot of hard work goes into that kind of stuff. You know, we practice all week, kind of getting things fit up, and you know. You see it happening, you know, full speed right in front of you, and everything gets blocked up perfectly, and it's a good feeling. But I mean, I was ready to go for the next offensive series. You know, I was getting ready for that and trying to catch my breath and get ready.
All right.
Well, I was going to ask about it. Now we've been laughed about a little bit since the game, but there's only really one way left for you to be a part of a touchdown. Why don't you explain how many different ways you've been part of a touchdown at Winona State?
So I have kick return now, punt return. I've rushed for one, I've caught one, and then I had a block punt for a touchdown, so I count that as a defensive touchdown.
Okay.
And then passing is the only one I have left, so I mean, we'll see. I've been in coach's ear a little bit, trying to make that happen for this last game, but we'll see.
We've given you a couple attempts.
Yeah, I've got 3 passing attempts. A couple of them were incomplete, and then I drew a 15-yard penalty on one of them, so I count that as that's a good one for us. But yeah.
Elliot, let me ask you just one more question about where you are as a senior. I mean, you've been in a bunch of different positions, a lot of different roles on this team, going through injury and those kind of things. But just tell us briefly about all the experiences you've had, because you've really experienced more than most kids do in their time here.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I mean, this place, I love Winona. You know, I love my teammates, and really being able to play all over the field is kind of what I did in high school. So it was kind of cool to. I didn't really expect that to transition into college, where I'm rushing the ball, I'm catching the ball, I'm throwing the ball. Like I don't know, it's fun. And I don't think a lot of kids get to have that in their college experience. And for me to be able to do that and be able to be utilized in different situations, scenarios, it's special to me. So
For sure.
Why don't you kind of walk us through what the difference is in playing different positions in high school than it is in college? I mean, you're kind of set into one role, and then for you were switched to a wide receiver and switched to running back and all these different plays. So what goes through your practice or your preparation for a game knowing that you're going to be playing a different position?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, you got to attack it. You know, you got to prepare as when you're watching film, you know, you're watching what the defense is doing. That's really the big difference between college and high school is high school, you're not really reading defenses. You know, you're thinking about, all right, I'm going to do my job, and then we'll see what happens. But college, you know, your job could change depending on what they do. So that's kind of the big thing that, you know, I've really noticed the difference between high school and college for preparing for games and stuff is really your job could change in a second. So you got to be able to recognize that and then be able to do what you need to do. All
right, we talked earlier about all the different ways that you scored a touchdown this season, but I want to ask you about one special touchdown, and that was the one that you caught from John Rumsa.
Yeah.
Talk us through that play and what your emotions were for that, because I know that was kind of a special one.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. I mean, for John too. I mean, that was the big thing. I caught that. I got in the end zone. I instantly looked at John. I was like, hey, that's a special one for him because, you know, he's been through a lot. And for him to get out there and throw a touchdown, man, that was awesome.
Right. You know, you look at your overall career, and here you are at your last game at Maxwell Field. What's it going to mean to you when you walk out there for the very last time?
I mean, it's you know, our whole life's going to change. You know, I really haven't known anything past football for my life since I was this tall. You know, that's all I've been thinking about is football, football, football. So it's going to be really different. I mean, I'm going to miss it so much. I mean, this place has done so much for me. This program's done so much for me, and I don't know, to walk off that field the last time, I don't want to think about it too much, but it's going to be tough.
Well, we're going to make you think about it a little bit here because we've been covering you a long time, from Lake City here then to Winona State. So what are your future plans? What are some of the things that you're going to do after your college days?
So I'm doing an internship with Fastenal right now, kind of working as a customer research specialist. And I think I'll be taking a job there after college and, you know, sticking around here, be coming to games and stuff. And yeah, so that's kind of the plan right now. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to stick around as long as I want. You know, this last week of practice for me, like as a college athlete, so I'm going to be soaking it in as much as I can.
All right, very good. Well, thank you for joining us here today, and good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, we'll talk with Greg Rooney. That's right after this.
Elevate your HBC TV experience with the latest technology to hit your whole home entertainment system. Record up to 6 programs simultaneously and save up to 350 hours of your favorite shows. Pause a program you're watching in one room and pick right up where you left off in another. Video on demand, wireless set-top boxes and mobile device streaming, apps including Alexa, Netflix, YouTube, and more. Call 888-474-9995 to learn more or visit hbci.com/elevate today.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25, and we're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. As we said, it is senior week. Greg Rooney joins us, and Greg, you were telling us you haven't been on the show yet, so we wait until we're almost done with the season for you to be on here. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the last couple of weeks of the season, and you know what the Warriors have been on a roll. Tell us about what's going on.
Yeah, our goal as soon as we started having like a little adversity come through and we had some injuries and stuff, our goal the whole season has been just to like keep grinding, keep finishing out the season, because obviously with this league, you know, anything can happen. People can lose to people they're not supposed to lose to all the time, and it's just like hard to go undefeated in this league. And we know that if we finish out the season and make sure that it's that we do our part, that someone else can win a game for us and we can get another 12th game. And so we've just been trying to really finish out the season and make sure we do our part.
All right, we talked to Elliot Cox about all the different positions that he's played. You've mainly been a tight end, but sometimes we see you as kick returner. It may not be on purpose, but I think you had 5 kick returns this year. Tell us about that and about you're kind of on the front lines, and when you see the ball come at you and you know that it's going to be your turn to take a return, what goes through your mind in that situation?
Yeah, well, I've always been backed up. Behind me has always been a really good returner. So they try not to kick it to those people, and they try to kick it to someone who's a little slower. So I usually end up getting the ball. But yeah, usually when it comes to me, I'm just trying to make sure I secure the ball and get, obviously, and then the secondary goal is get as many yards as I can. But I mean, with the way we're setting up other returns, sometimes the blocks don't always get made, so I just kind of plunge my head forward for 5 and call her good. So,
you know, you look at that tight end position, Greg, that you've been playing for 5 years, and how important it is in our offense. We're a fullback tight end type of a pro-style team. How important and how hard is that position to play within our offensive schemes?
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, it's a lot of meetings. Like I have to go to 3 meetings a week because I got to talk to the pass game guys and I got to talk to the run game guys, and then I got special teams too. So. But that position is you kind of got to be a hybrid. You have to be able to block with the linemen, and you got to be able to run with the DBs. And so just being able to balance that out has really been my goal in my career here. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, I love the position because I get to do best of both worlds. Get to be in the trenches, but also get to run some routes and do some skill-wise stuff. So that was kind of nice.
You know, we've had a bunch of plays over the years for you, especially when you get close to the end zone, and little pop passes and different things. And how exciting is that when you know that your name's getting called? Because we call a play, you know it's usually for a particular guy in a particular moment. What's that like when you go to the you're on the 4-yard line and you go, okay, that's coming to me. How do you handle that?
Yeah, well, one thing I've learned from Coach Holtzclaw is that whatever we run in practice, it's never going to look like that. I had the Duluth, the little pop pass that we ran. It's never gonna be just a direct pass. Like the guy tipped it and it changed directions, had to relocate it and stuff. But being ready for all that kind of stuff is really what I was trying to be ready for, and that's a huge part of playing college football, is being ready for all that kind of stuff.
You talked about all the facets of being a tight end. Do you have a favorite part of playing tight end?
I guess making friends with, being able to be with all my like wide receivers and all the linemen, and just being able to be with all those guys, because I feel like some of the linemen don't get to like hang out or be like, we're always all around each other, but like I get to go to meetings with everyone, and like I have 3 different coaches, and it's always like keeps me going. It makes me busy, and I like that kind of part, I guess.
All right, last question that we have for you then is kind of your future. Let's sum up your Warrior career, and then what do you have plans in the future for?
Sum up a Warrior career, I would say it's been an awesome ride. Like, I loved playing here. Obviously, I don't live very far away, but it was great. I loved it. And plans for the future, I'm gonna try to stick around here, find a job in the Winona area, and obviously make it to some games.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and we're glad we finally got you on the show. And good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We're going to talk about the opponent this week, Concordia St. Paul, that's coming up right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. And it's kind of interesting, some of the conversations we have off camera while we're getting ready to shoot the show. And you know, sometimes we get some questions that come up in just the conversation that we have. And one of them is the injury thing. I mean, we always talk about injuries, but you actually totaled up how many injuries you've had this season and how many games people have lost and that sort of thing. It's staggering what's happened this year.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, of course, we're trying to, you know, we're going to do a bunch of research at the end, but we were in the best shape ever. I think our kids came in the best shape, even into camp. When we started the season, Justin, we had one player, Landon Jacobson, was the only person in a boot out of 130 players. So 129 players were available to play. I just went through it yesterday, actually, and we had 14 starters this year that missed at least 4 or more games. And of course, some like Nick Pridgeon and Michael Gomez missed the entire year. Jake Blue missed 8 games. So you start looking at the significant kids that we lost. And right now, you know, you look at our injury report list, and we have 53 kids listed on it. Never seen anything like it. And it's not, you know, a lot of people think that the injuries in football are concussion. We haven't had hardly any of that. I think we've had 1. Or soft tissue, where you got hamstrings or hip flexors and shoulders, and very, very few of that. We've had fractures. We've had 5 foot fractures. We've had 5 hand fractures. And if you get one of those a year, it's kind of crazy. And we've had 5 or 6 ACLs. And most of it, and almost all of it, has been non-contact injuries. So it's just, you know, kids like Tanner Grant, he dove to tackle a kid and had a compound fracture of his forearm and dislocated his thumb. So it's not like just this little injury. I mean, these are game-changing injuries. And the biggest thing is, you know, of course, you know me, I got a silver lining for everything, but, you know, a lot of kids got a lot of playing time because of that, which is going to be great for our future. But for this year's team, it was really sad because we have something special here, and a lot of the best players on our football team were watching either from a little wheeling cart or on crutches next to us instead of being on the field. So we're looking at it. We're looking at turfs and shoes and all kinds of things. Is it something, or is it just flat out bad luck? I didn't win the lottery either, so maybe it's just flat out bad luck.
Now, I know we don't always catch it on camera. We try not to, but every once in a while we see on the sidelines you have to come over and give a guy a hug because you know that either the whole game is over for them or the season is over for them. I imagine that's got to be one of the toughest things that you have to do as a head coach.
It's brutal. It's a game, and you want kids to just go enjoy playing. They work so hard. I remember when Nick Pridgeon went down, here in game 2, and he was sitting on the sideline. I'm like, there's an All-American level kid. He's got a chance to go to the NFL, and had scouts in that day, and it just breaks your heart to see kids hurt. And I've been there enough myself to know what it's like to be hurt, and it's just no fun. And but the amount of energy and time and effort that kids put in, when you see that, you know how important football is, as you saw with these guys today.
Right.
It means a ton to them, and I just want to have them play when their ability lets them. And to miss that is, this is what they talk about the rest of their life, and is that experience during their college years. So it really does. It's a personal thing.
Well, Elliot Cox saying during the show today, all I've known is football, and I don't know what I'm going to do to miss it.
Yeah, and there's so much. It's so much bigger than the game, and I know people realize that, or most people do realize. But you saw these two guys today, Justin, and how valuable football is in America today. And it's not just that they're out there scoring touchdowns or kickoff returns. That's the highlights. But you also heard them talk about their teammates and hanging out and going to 3 different meetings, and people say, "Oh, that's too much time." They're loving it, and you're looking at 2 guys that excel academically here. One's an engineer, and one's in sales and marketing, and it's amazing what our kids do. But it's the building relationships. It's about getting that academic degree and putting yourself in position. Look at the jobs these guys are talking about having here in Winona, and it's just amazing that the workforce here are getting these kind of kids.
All right, this week is the last regular season game. It's a home game against Concordia St. Paul, and I understand you're going to do a little something for the seniors at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. We always go. Our tradition is to announce. We have 12 this year. 12 seniors. We'll just do them in alphabetical order, and start with Eric Berth here from Winona, and you start looking at those kids, those 12 kids. Each one has a unique story, but each are all equally important. They all will graduate, and they're all ready to go. And you start looking back 5 years or even 6 years where these guys first came into Winona, to Winona State. You're looking at it and going, wow, look at them now. And that's the biggest goal of our program, is to see when they come out. I always tell the parents that, when they graduate, that's the most important day. And when we stand there and watch them go across the stage, that's our biggest victory. And here these guys are. Most of them will be done here in December.
All right, and then the game itself against Concordia St. Paul, how do you match up against that?
Good. They're a good football team. They're not a great football team, but they're a good football team. They can beat anybody. They played tough against some of the opponents, but if we just go out and execute, that's the key. And offensively, we've got to be sharper this week. They do have a good defensive front. They get after people. They're up there in the league in sacks, so we got to pay attention to that. But I just want our kids to go play as hard as they can with the seniors on their mind. So when those guys get done with the football game, we've won our 8th game after all the things that we've been through. When those 8 to 12 kids put their hand on the shield, it'll be really a special day for them.
All right, almost out of time, but I want to squeak one more question in here. The bowl situation, I know a lot of people have been talking about that, and of course the motivation is to have one more game. Where does that stand right now?
Yeah, anytime you play 12 games, that's awesome. As I told the team, the rest of your life you're going to wish you had another game. And we're still in it. With a win, we'd be 8-3, tied with Moorhead and St. Cloud. And St. Cloud, if they win, or one of those two are going to probably go. But there's also an option where sometimes teams choose not to go for many different reasons. Sometimes budget and those kind of things. So there has been teams that have declined the trip, and that would give us an opportunity, because we didn't play either one of those teams. We don't have common opponents in loss columns, and it'd have been better if Bemidji would have won, and because they went earlier than we did last. So we went in 2012. Both Moorhead and St. Cloud have never gone.
Okay.
So the old Big Ten rule, where the last team that went doesn't get to go, that could play a factor in this. But we'll see. We win the game, and somebody has to tell us no.
All right. Well, Concordia St. Paul this week. Good luck in the game this week, and thanks for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for watching here on TV 25. We'll see you next time on the Tom Sawyer Show.